To start off our conference, though, I'd like to introduce you to Branya Holyoke. Bronia has been instrumental in helping to get some of the structure behind Peer Connect here in WA as part of the national Peer Connect networks that are happening, and so she's going to tell us a little bit more about that so you can see where some of the support for the peer support groups has come from in WA. I'll hand over to Bronia.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Good morning, everybody. My name's Branya Holyoke. I am the CEO of Valued Lives Foundation. We're a not-for-profit organisation, peer-led, operating in Western Australia, and one of the fundamental parts of our reason for being is to connect people with their peers, to promote family leadership, and to provide a space for people to be able to learn and grow in their knowledge and experience, particularly in the area of NDIS. Where as it's rolling out, what we hear a lot is that people really need support from their peers to be able to understand what the journey looks like and to go along the journey with them. So I'm delighted that we have got so many people here today. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about the Peer Connect conference here today and how we actually got here. I suppose I need to click something. Oh, look at that. So what are we about? What are we here for today? What's the purpose behind putting this conference together? Well, primarily it was to provide you with a space to connect with your peers, okay? We really wanted somebody to, something to be able to bring together a space where people could come together and just connect. I mean, primarily that's what we're about today. We've got a Peer Connect cafe that's operating just on the right-hand side here, which will be manned by a bunch of your peers who have been operating and working in the NDIS space for quite some time, just both in the WA NDIS and in the federal scheme. So if you've got questions that you'd like to ask of your peers, go along, connect up at the Peer Connect cafe. Take a coffee along, go and meet up with some new people and have a chat. And if you've got some experience to share about your experience with the NDIS, go along and share your wisdom. We're really keen to let you know about the peer support networks that are currently operating in the ground. We've got Sam Payer from South Australia here today who's going to share her information and extensive knowledge about the NDIS, the federal scheme, sharing the nuts and bolts of the NDIS. We are delighted that we've got representatives from both state and federal governments here today who are going to come and talk to you about what they think about the work of peer networks and the future of that here in Western Australia. And one of the main things that we want to get from you is your ideas. Now, in our fancy bureaucratic speak, people would say co-design, okay? In our Peer Connect language, we just want to have a yarn with you around the tables, come up with some of your ideas about what it is that you want to have happen for Peer Connect initiatives into the future, particularly here in WA. Just to give you a little bit of setting the scene, how we got here today was in 2015-16 there was an initiative, a capacity building project that was funded by the National Disability Insurance Agency, and it was called the Disability Support Organisation, the DSO project. Now it's a bit confusing here in WA because DSOs here are actually service providers. Okay, so there was a little bit of discussion at the beginning around what it was called, but we've learnt to live with that and we moved on, and we actually see the work of DSOs here as peer support organisations. So we got that funding in 2015-16, and then they said, well, actually, this is really working quite well, isn't it? We're seeing lots of really good connections on the ground. So there was some additional funding that was made available through another couple of sponsorship grants through the National Disability Insurance Agency. And all of the projects are due to finish. The DSO project in particular is due to finish on the 30th of June, which is 2 weeks away. So we've put together this event to celebrate and recognise the work that has been achieved during the course of this initiative. So the Peer Connect project is part of a national initiative. There were 18 member-based organisations, small not-for-profit organisations like PWD, DDWA, Down Syndrome WA, who were funded to provide up to 20 peer support networks each. So across the nation, what's 18 times 20? A lot. Maths was never my good thing. My mum said that. The peer support networks aim to help people with disabilities and family members to learn how to engage with the NDIS, learn how and share experiences about mainstream opportunities and programs that are available, activities they could connect to in their local community. Very much around choice and control and enabling people to learn how to exercise choice and control. The art of choice and control. It's not an easy thing. We assume people have capacity to be able to, in the NDIS marketplace, to exercise choice and control. From our experience, people say they actually need to learn how to do that, to be able to be freed up, to be able to exercise choice and control. And that takes time. And the other thing was we were about engaging and promoting opportunities for independence, encouraging self-management, and of course inclusion. So these were the DSOs that were funded in WA. As I said, PWD and Comware, they had a joint initiative. Down Syndrome Western Australia, Julie and Jackie from Down Syndrome were pivotal in the work that was being done here in WA in that space. And Developmental Disability WA partnered with WACE, and they were doing, they've done some projects as well in this space through the DSO project. And what about us? So we've been sort of linking this together through the National Community of Practice. So there's an organisation in South Australia called JFA Purple Orange, and they were funded to bring all this disability support organisation work together into what was a seamless place. So we could have one place to share information that was national. And so what we've been doing here is we've set up a website. There's a national website. That includes lots and lots of stories. So we've been developing weekly stories of all the good peer support work and connections that are happening right across Australia. So if you go to the Peer Connect website, you'll find lots of initiatives that have been happening through this project during the course of the last few years. There's lots of training, resources, information. And really it was around fostering a spirit of collaboration around people coming together right across Australia. So we don't sit in our little silo here in Western Australia, and that we connect up with our peers who are doing similar work across the eastern seaboard. So that's where we've came into it. So as I said, we're a peer-led organisation, and we've been facilitating the Community of Practice network of the organisations operating here in WA. And we've been the ones that are responsible for sharing the stories and the work across the network. And Shelley over there, one of the peer network advisors over in Valued Lives, has been responsible for connecting up with all of the peer support networks, and I think we've shared over 350 stories of what's been happening. And we also deliver peer-led support initiatives around topics of interest. So we've got peer support networks online, we have some face-to-face. We're particularly focused in the area of NDIS rollout sites, and what we find is once a rollout area comes on board, it's usually within 2 or 3 months, and then hits the sweet spot around 6 months when people start saying, who can I talk to about my peers around this stuff? Where can I go to access some support? And that's how they've developed. What the people say that they like about being part of this local peer support network, they love that they get spin-free information and being able to share that with their peers. They say having a safe space where they can share experiences, problem solve and get practical support about the NDIS is really important. They love the social and connection and the emotional support that comes around from meeting up with people on a similar journey and people who get it. The peer and family leadership aspect is really important. So, like hearing stories from people with disability who've got a life. They've done the hard yards, they've got a life, they've got a job, they've been able to self-manage their supports, they've moved out of home, they're living independently. With the mantra of the peer support networks being a place where you can do this, we've got your back, okay? Give it a go, be challenged, take the risk, and our peers will support you along the way. We use a very simple framework to be able to have that happen. And just so finally, how do we get here today? So it's interesting because we didn't just all arrive in this room today. Where's Sam Connor in the room? Is she around somewhere? Sam Connor, well, she might be out in the Peer Connect Cafe. So she is the DSO facilitator for people with disabilities WA. And Sam Connor, in her wisdom, said, why don't we finish this project with a bang? And so we'll bring everyone together and have our last opportunity to connect. And we thought, oh, okay, sounds like a great idea. She booked the venue, so there was no out. So she booked the venue, and we thought, well, the groups came together and said, we'll probably get about 50 people. And we closed off registrations at 180. We could have had more people attend. And I just need to let you know that the DSOs, those small groups of people alongside us working with them, have voluntarily chipped in to this effort today to bring it all together. And it really has been a big peer support effort. There's been no fancy organisers here. So if we trip up along the way somewhere because we've forgotten to do something, be kind to us because we've done it all voluntarily just so that we can connect in today. Look, hope you have a fantastic day. Get connected with your peers, and really looking forward to you shaping up future activities in the Peer Connect space in Western Australia over the next few years. Thank you. So our next guest is Antonella. Yeah, so Antonella, come on up. Antonella is from Connect Groups WA, and she's... Oh, okay, just want to have a little... Do you want to see if you can...
Hello.
Oh, she's there. Okay, welcome. Just want to introduce you to Antoinette. She's going to talk to you a little bit about what is your message for us today around Connect Groups here in Western Australia and the support that your organisation offers.
That's right, thank you. Thank you everyone for having me here today. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we meet here today. I'd like to also acknowledge those with a lived experience and acknowledge all of you here. Why am I here? Today is about support groups walking the same path. And I decided that I'd do this presentation utilizing imagery. So what do you see here in this picture? You see an arrow, and you see someone going actually in the opposite direction to that arrow. But the reality is that what you've all done is you've actually turned and followed that arrow into the same direction. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have to get my little click button. I'm going to go over here. So who am I? My name is Antonella, and I'm the CEO of Connect Groups. So who is Connect Groups? Who are we? What is it that we do? And I thought I'd use the imagery of a desk, but the desk has flowers, it's got incense, because that really represents Connect Groups. And it fits so well with this conference because it's all about connecting. So Connect Groups is the peak body for WA support groups. We have over 617 support group members in WA alone. 141 of those are in our regions. We've been around for a very long time. I've been leading this organization for 10 years, and I know that we're still the best kept secret, because how many of you really know that we exist? Any hands? Oh, good. 3, 4, 5. Brilliant. So what do? We're funded through the Department of Communities, and we've been historically funded through them to ensure the long-term sustainability of support groups in WA. And we do that in a variety of ways, which is obviously capacity building or sector development, through workshops, through training, through forums. But we also are all about connecting individuals to support groups right across WA. And those 617 members, there's a huge variety. So they're dealing with chronic conditions, they're dealing with mental health, they're dealing with negative aspects that have affected them through life. And so part of that is to link them back to peer support groups, because I will share why I believe that the work that you're doing, and though you came together initially to address the NDIS, as the previous speaker alluded to, it became about that emotional and support journey that is so necessary to continue that towards recovery, or whether it's an early intervention or whether it's prevention. So for me, a support group is a place filled with motivation, inspiration, love, knowledge, and all the support needed to reach the goals. And each individual group makes that decision. What is our goal? What is our objective? No support group is the same. And in this image, I wanted to use the color yellow. I wanted it to be strong. I wanted to give it a sense of positivity, of light. And the person that is holding this basket of flowers on his shoulders shows that groups hold each other. And each color of those flowers is different, because when peer support groups come together, they come together with different life circumstances, in the sense that they'll be from different socioeconomic areas. They'll be from different cultures. They'll bring different lived experiences. But what is fantastic is they're coming together for one common objective that brings them there. And that's what a support group is. And I find that very exciting. So when I also talk about peer support groups, I talk about them as music notes. And this slide just shows this filled paper full of music notes. There's always one person that takes that initiative, that makes the decision of writing or composing that symphony. But that symphony can only be composed with all of the members. So what I see peer supports are that they work collaboratively. They work within a democratic, if I can use that word, process. Because at the end, they all want to, what is the saying? They all want to be singing out of the same hymn sheet. And that's what I find it exciting as well. It is about. So all of you, for me, and when I speak about my members, I either see them as flowers coming together, because we know that then the petals will fall off, and the same with music notes. We know it comes together, and then someone will come and say, I need to change that symphony, and therefore the notes change. But for me, it's always something which is uplifting, something that is positive. Peer support groups want to make a difference because they're driven by a legitimate sense of compassion. And a long time ago, I met an amazing man called Michael, and I think he was from Relationship Australia, and he taught me the difference between compassion and empathy. And you may not agree with my statement, because I actually stole his. So for me, empathy is about having empathy towards another person. And I empathize with your situation. Like everything that I was hearing before from our Welcome to Country, I can empathize. But compassion goes further, and that's where I see peer support. Because compassion is about following that journey all along the way. And that's what we need to be saying to government. And that's what I advocate to government around peer support groups. They need to be compassionate. They need to continue that journey along your side. They need to recognize you. They need to validate the work that you are doing. And that's why this image, it is a man and a woman, and there is that gentleness of that kiss on the cheek. But that's what you're doing every day. You are actually providing that sense of compassion to one another. And I find it very exciting that the government recognizes that there is a peak for support groups. So know that what you are doing is being recognized. So there are great opportunities for peer support sector, and I'd like to share some of those opportunities for you. Now, this image, my staff had different feelings around it because it's a person that's running, hiding her face. There's a mural behind it, and some people thought it was kind of eerie because there's a hand that's coming out of that picture. But it's not. It's actually jumping for joy. It's blue. Again, that's our color, but it's blue, it's positive. What are the opportunities? The support and the funding that was received through this program is not an innovative federal government initiative. In 2011 and 2012, the Disability Commission of WA provided funding to the Disability Developmental WA, it was called Council of WA, provided them with $250,000 a year to provide funding to support groups because they believed that they needed to maintain them. They knew how many disability support groups there were. And because, again, then the project was so successful, they gave them another $250,000. And out of that, there was an average of, I think it was about 65 different projects that went off the ground. And you know what? It was only an input of an average of $7,800 a year. And those groups flourished. So we know, and my message to government is and continues to be, we don't need huge amount of money. We can do so much for so little because we are innovative, we are creative. So what an opportunity now for government to continue the work that has been done and to continue to find that funding to continue your peer support groups. So it is all in your hands. And the image again, two hands coming together with little tea lights. And every little tea light is one of you today who's here. It's one of your peer support groups. And why did I get invited? Obviously, because I love imagery. But I was invited here today because I want to talk about your power. Today, you have impacted through your work with the support of those organizations, 1,800 plus people have been impacted favorably by this federal government initiative. And so we need to keep that momentum going because you should really be proud. That is a phenomenal amount of work that has been done. So why do we say, why am I here? Connect Groups is here because we want to let you know that we're here to support you through those services that I spoke to you about. And therefore, there's an opportunity, and please come and see us. We've got a little stall there at the side to say, how can we connect with Connect Groups so that we can continue to do the work we're doing while obviously we continue to advocate for more funding to be set your way. And it's a very simple process. You just literally, we check your eligibility criteria, you put in your membership form, and then you can access all of our services. The membership is for free. The services are for free because we believe that this is the work we need to do. The more support groups that are out there, the more individuals we are helping along the way. So it's like this image of this piece of wood that's been cut in half, but guess what? All the veins are actually going in. People say, no, they're going out. No, actually, they're going in, but it's expanding because our support group movement, or we call it a sector, is increasing. So what I'm saying today, and really keeping you all motivated, is let's continue to move in the right direction. And the image is those thumbs up leading that direction. You will decide what that direction is. No support group is the same. No support group, oh, it's back. No support group is the same, so stick to your direction. And really, thank you so much for allowing me just to do this brief presentation. I love to describe the images. It's a beautiful woman with a big smile. I wish I was that young. I'm not, couldn't find one of my age. But again, thank you so much, and please come and see us for any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Antoinette.
Title: What is peer support? Dave speaking.
With peer support, there's something incredibly powerful about people from different disabilities coming together to form a singular voice about issues that affect the entire disabled community. And that's why, you know, one of the aspects of peer support is assisting each other in that advocacy going forward. So, you know, it's talking about those issues in these groups as well. It's you know, you don't have to sit there and be just passive to what is happening around you.
Shu speaking.
We can learn from each other experience. We can get each other information. We can go out and tell people my experience, and they can tell their experience to me. We need to be empower ourselves, can do lots of stuff, and to be able to bring the message out to share with other people.
George speaking.
For me, peer support is an opportunity for people to grow strength together. There's this perception that people with disabilities don't know what to say or don't know how to ask. And families get stuck in that because they see their own lives and their own challenges with their own children. And these children are like in their 20s, some of them, in their 30s, and they're not children, they're adults. And for them to be able to come out free of their parents into a peer group, it would give them the opportunity to learn to become independent, learn to make a decision. We need to take risks. Life's about taking risks.
Lee speaking beside Tanya.
We are sharing our life to their life and really using their life as amazing as they can be, because every person is an expert. Every person has a disability, but every person has blood and skin and they're human beings just like anyone else in the world.
Tanya speaking beside Lee.
They start to bloom, they start to grow, they start to realise they have abilities, they have power to take control of their life and start living it, and living it the way they choose. If you don't share what you know, then how's anyone else going to get it?
Ros speaking.
I get so much because I get information, I get to meet new people, I get to be part of a conversation, I get to learn more stuff from my own toolbox that I have.
Peer support course. Trainer talks to participants.
The problem is that once you take it into the gutter, it's really hard.
Christine signing, voiced by an Auslan interpreter.
I had never really been involved in anything like it before. I'd never spoken with people with a range of disabilities before. I still felt a little bit fearful, if you like, but now that I'm actually involved with CEDA, I get it now. Sometimes it's as simple as having a conversation about what it is that they like to do, or where they like to go, or what they'd like to learn, what their fears are, and trying to sort of break away from those things. Rather than focusing on those negative parts in their story, finding the skills, finding something that helps them to connect to their community.
George.
So we're going to show a few of these clips along the way today of some of the peer support networks that are operating both here in WA and throughout Australia.